Invitation to Wine. Truly one of the greatest events to ever graced our screens, blessing us with our beloved drunk dragon lady, Ling. During this rerun period, I want to do another lore accurate challenge like I did with Near Light and Break the Ice. If you are new to this channel, I like to do this lore accurate challenge on rerun events to test my skills using only operators that appear in the event story, and I'm only clearing the main stages, which in this case is IW1 to IW9. Invitation to Wine has a variety of operators, with pretty decent stats. Ling is of course the strongest one here, so with her in the squad, the challenge should be easy to do. We are lacking a medic, which is necessary for IW9, so we might have to bend the rules a little bit. So, can you clear Invitation to Wine with lore accurate operators? Strap on and let's go break some Chinese wares. IW1 was a walk in the park. Black Knight holds the left side while Kroos and Lee hold the right side of the map. Despite being the easiest stage in this run, IW1 also provided me with a great idea to deal with the Weregeist. Normally, I would use Ethan's skill 1 to deal with these floating bastards, but turns out Lee with his skill 3 also works really well. The only difference is that Lee pushed back everything that comes towards him. By keeping these floating Weregeists at bay, I can have Kroos or any other operator to wipe them all away. Looking back at this recording made me realize that Lee did most of the heavy lifting, while Kroos was just there for emotional support.
Mission accomplished.
IW2 was also an easy clear with more or less the same setup. This time, I used this opportunity to use Mr. Nothing and have him act as a filter to ease the pressure on Black Knight's Slumberfoot. I'm proud to say that Mr. Nothing is actually not bad. Perhaps I was too harsh on you 2 years ago. Anyway, the rest of the run was pretty uneventful and I cleared IW2 with ease. Definitely got this.
Mission accomplished.
Easy peasy. Before starting IW3, I stopped by the shop to buy Kroos' skin. That looks so clean. Equip. I still have plenty of OP left, so this is fine. Just a small expense. Anyway, IW3 introduces a new enemy. The bronze peacocks. When they die, they turn into bronze mirrors that take 30 hits to kill, and this is where attack speed is very important. Kroos is perfect to fight against these guys because her skill 2 allows her to deal multiple hits in one attack. My first attempt was a failure because both Black Knight and Kroos got too distracted at the peacock and leaked one of these lion looking things. At the state of panic, I tried to stop it with Mr. Nothing, but that was futile. Ah, bloody hell. No! Okay, that's a mistake. Baiting your operator's attack is the main job of these peacock, and I should have known that when I started this stage. To solve this problem, I just shifted Kroos one tile closer to the blue box and that somehow fixed it. I'm not sure why, and I'm not going to analyze it because that's not what this video is about. By the way, I made a video about Kroos altar, so why not check that out after this video.
Mission accomplished.
IW4 is a very open stage with multiple routes and a lot of space for melee operators. This stage also introduced us to another new enemy, the walking furry beast. These guys have range attacks that deal a lot of damage to my range operators. With the absence of healing, I used Ling's dragon to tank its range attacks and it barely made a scratch on it. When the furry beasts are defeated, they transform into 15 wooden paperweights, and watching them getting devoured by Ling's dragons is so satisfying. Just watch. All the paperweight just disappeared. Oh wow, yeah it did. One lesson I learned in this stage is not to deploy either of my merchant specialists too early as they cripple my DP generation, and Black Knight herself is not the best at generating DP. Starting from IW5, the stages have a different aesthetic. Upon starting this stage, I was immediately bombarded by a bunch of mobs. I tried to control the flow of enemies with Mr. Nothing and it kinda works. IW5 also introduced us a new enemy, which are these teapot crabs that deal AoE arch damage and reduces your attack speed. There was only one solution I could think of. using Link's Dragon as a meat shield again. But that backfired and put Black Knight out of combat, which then led me to scrap my first attempt. In my second attempt, you can see how chaotic this stage is towards the second half. I deployed Dusk to assist Link in killing the floating cubs, or I could just deploy a second dragon there and it's cheaper to deploy, but I want to cover both lanes at the same time, and the fact that Dusk's normal attacks is AoE, it makes it easier to get rid of the cubs. Alright, before we move on to the next stage, I want you to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video so far. Thank you. Before starting IW6, I took a short detour to obtain Lee's module, which reduces the DP penalty from 3 DP every 3 seconds to just 2 DP every 3 seconds. This is a great upgrade and would be useful later in IW9, assuming that I did not forget to actually equip it. Anyway, for IW6, I switched Black Knight's skill from skill 1 to skill 2 just to compare how fast the DP generation is, and also provided a much needed crowd control in this sort of choke point. Kroos provided some fire support to clear up the enemy remains and anyone who got past the Slumberfoot. I deployed Link closer to the blue box to take care of any escapees while her dragon spawn camped the Peacock. This stage also introduced a new enemy, a ceramic dragon known as Blue Flower, that inflicts continuous arch damage that increases over time. It doesn't say how long this attack lasts, but it's better to retreat your operator rather than just trying to heal it. Or be an ignorant idiot like me and leave your operator to die. One more thing about these blue flowers is that they spawn a vase when defeated, and you can only kill the vase with arts or true damage. There were also a couple of close calls with the Weregeist, but fortunately Mr. Nothing was able to quickly one-tap them and saved me from an embarrassing defeat. Come on, Lee, Nothing. That was so scuff. The stage name for IW7, Chaos, suits perfectly because you get a stream of enemies from the top and a motherfucker with a pokey stick from the right. These guys are called Sinking Sand. Okay. For each attack, they consume Broken Blades to amplify their next attack, so I plan to use Link's Dragon to 1v1 the Sinking Sands. Unfortunately, on my first attempt, I didn't upgrade Link's Dragon on time because Black Knight was overwhelmed, I had to deploy Lee and Mr. Nothing, which then led to a failed run. Okay, that was really tough. On my second attempt, I deployed Link facing upwards to provide more DPS to Black Knight, and by doing this, I didn't have to deploy Mr. Nothing too early and I was able to fully upgrade Link's Dragon. The first Sinking Sand took out almost half of the dragon's HP, and the second one that came afterwards completely annihilated the dragon. You can't see it, but I was panicking a little bit. But I also discovered that the Slumberfoot can still put enemies to sleep, even though it's retreated, which bought me some valuable time and managed to deploy another dragon to quickly kill off the Sinking Sand. Oof. IW8 introduced the last enemy type in this event, named Clarity, which is a fat bird? Dragon? I can't tell. They deploy a smoke screen that provides invisibility to enemies in the area. My setup for this stage is pretty straightforward. Black Knight soloed the bottom lane, while Link and Kroos did most of the DPS heavy lifting. I also used this opportunity to test how many of these wooden scrolls Kroos can kill with her skill 2, and she managed to kill about 80% of them, which is pretty good. So yeah, I cleared IW8 with little to no problem, and the smoke screen deployed by Clarity did absolutely nothing. Nice. Finally, the dreaded boss stage, IW9. If you have played this stage before, you know it's really hard to clear IW9 without a healer because the Suishang boss constantly bombards you with Thunderclap. So I had to bend the rules a little bit and bring in some additional operators. First is Nightingale. She would be my primary healer and with her skill 2 equipped, she provides a shield that reduces incoming arch damage from Thunderclap. Next is Myrtle, because I need to deploy a Lee early on, but Black Knight can't keep up with the constant DP demand. That should be enough, right? Oh shit. Yeah, that happened. I did a few more practice runs with the same setup and tried changing the positions of the operators, but the outcome was the same. Everyone just got decimated by the omnidirectional breath. I had no choice but to bring one more healer, Sculptor. She is cheap to deploy and her skill 2 has good healing, and she basically elevates the entire squad's attack and defense because everyone is basically surrounding her. Is it overkill? Probably, but who cares? I used Kyostin's AFK strategy for IW9, but of course it's modified to suit my setup. First, Lee replaced Ethan, making sure that the least amount of wisps reached the Suixiang. He didn't do as well as Ethan, and some wisps managed to slip past. Next, Ling would be my main DPS alongside her dragons, while Kroos and Dusk will provide some extra DPS. The Suixiang has 3 stages. On the first stage, he was pretty weak and I was able to quickly defeat him. Too much of a problem. There you go. Once Kroos is in overdrive, he's dead. Stage 1, done. The build up to stage 2 was a bit frustrating because some of the wisps are out of Lee's range. Despite having some extra HP, I passed stage 2 with no problem at all. Okay, done. To prepare for stage 3, I switched Kroos for Nian as I plan to use her skill 3 to buff everyone's defense, hoping that Ling would not get decimated immediately by the omnidirectional breath. I also made sure that Ling's dragons are deployed and fully upgraded. And here comes the moment of truth. Now. But everyone survived, except for Kroos and Nian. After that massive attack move, I threw everything I have at the boss and it got annihilated.
Mission accomplished.
So, can you actually clear Invitation to Wine with lore accurate operators? Yes, except for IW9. As far as I'm aware, there is no medic operator in the Invitation to Wine story. And without one, it's impossible to clear IW9, at least with my experience and skills. Maybe if my Nightingale is maxed out, it may be possible to clear it without Sculptor, but I don't have enough resources and I don't have the time for that. With that aside, this event was really fun. Having Ling in the squad does make it easier. Her skill 3 provided some good DPS, and the higher form dragons have loads of HP which you can use as bait, and that sort of solved the problem of not having a healer. Lee did a pretty good job at clearing up the weregeist, but I still think Ethan is a little bit better at this role because his skill 1 deals arch damage, meaning Ethan can kill the vase and the teacup as well, which only takes arts and true damage. I think the most surprising outcome from this challenge is Mr. Nothing himself. When he was released, I was too quick to criticize him and did not touch him for an entire 2 years. However, this challenge proved that there is more to him than meets the eye, and I'm glad that I gave him a second chance. Before I end this video, let me ask you this. What would you do differently if you are doing this challenge with my exact setup? Also, check out the other lore accurate challenges that I did. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!